name is Jeff Dionne. I work in the Resource Management Branch of the DFO Area Office in Southwest New Brunswick. I've known Chief Akaji for almost 8 years now. Over those years, I've worked closely with the Chief and other members of the Beskodomagati Nation on the softshell clam fishery in Southwest New Brunswick. Our first meeting occurred on June 3rd, 2014 in St. Andrews between Chief Akaji, Mr. Paul Williams, Harvey Miller, and myself. As it related to softshell clams, the initial focus of the meeting was about the areas at Indian Point and Bar Road. The first conversations touched on very serious and challenging topics, and the manner in which Chief delivered his story was genuine and insightful. He recounted the history of his childhood and the importance of clam harvesting in these areas to his family and his people and the struggles they endured. From that point, I knew that this was something that I wanted to be invested in. Based on Chief's history, it would have been understandable for him to be resentful. And maybe there was some resentment toward those who preceded us, but our conversations were focused on building new relationships, ones that were based on mutual respect and trust, while still recognizing the past and acknowledging the impact that that past has had on the Beskodomagati people. These building blocks, if you will, were critical in being able to move forward in the true spirit of reconciliation. Over the following months, we had more directed conversations around the clam harvest at Indian Point and Bar Road. At that time, there was commercial activity at both beaches, while the Bar Road was also a frequent site for recreational harvesters. Access to the Indian Point clam harvest was only possible through a license issued by the department under the management of contaminated fisheries regulations. This was based on historical water quality assessment of the area by Environment and Climate Change Canada. Chief Akaji had expressed their desire to close both of these beaches to commercial activity, citing the unique cultural and historical significance of these areas. This would provide the Beskodomagati access to clams for food, social, and ceremonial harvesting by their preferred means in their asserted traditional territory and in the spirit of sharing to their neighbors and friends. These conversations led to two significant initiatives: the reclassification of the water quality at Indian Point and the closure of both beaches to commercial harvesting. Following discussions between Chief Akaji and Environment and Climate Change Canada, updated water quality analysis was conducted around the St. Andrews area. The results of this analysis led to a change in classification of the Indian Point area. This change would ultimately allow for greater access to clams for the Beskodomagati people while negating additional and costly licensing and processing requirements for the harvest. While this was a very important step forward, we still had to resolve the issue of commercial harvest. Closing a fishing area to commercial access for FSC purposes, absent conservation concerns, had not been done previously by DFO in the Maritimes region to my knowledge. This led to lengthy and extensive reviews of options and continued dialogue between the Beskodomagati, DFO, and stakeholders of the clam fishery in Southwest New Brunswick. Chief Akaji and other representatives of the PNS participated in the Southwest New Brunswick Clam Advisory Committee, sharing their knowledge and insight on the clam fishery with committee members. These conversations provided important opportunities for commercial harvesters to educate themselves on the history of the Beskodomagati. Once a path forward was established for the potential closure of Indian Point and the Bar Road to commercial harvesting, engagement with key participants of the commercial fishery and the Southwest New Brunswick Clam Advisory Committee took place in the fall of 2020. It was during these discussions where it became apparent that commercial clam harvesters may actually support a departmental decision to restrict their access to clams at these beaches. Overall, these beaches represent a relatively small portion of both the available clam harvesting areas in Southwest NB and the asserted traditional territory of the Beskodomagati. Nonetheless, they were still very important beaches for commercial harvesters in Southwest New Brunswick. Industry support was confirmed when the department reached out to the approximately 325 softshell clam license holders and other First Nations in Southwest New Brunswick, outlining our intent to proceed with closing these beaches to commercial harvesting activity. The number of respondents who provided support for this decision actually outnumbered the less than 4% of license holders who expressed outright opposition. This initiative culminated in the closure of both Indian Point and Bar Road to commercial harvesting on April 1st, 2021, a true step forward as we continue to reconcile. In more recent years, our conversations have evolved on the development of a management plan for the softshell clam fishery in Southwest New Brunswick. These conversations are ongoing and are very fluid. The Beskidoo Magady's interest in conservation and preservation of what some perceive to be a declining resource has led to increased scientific work on the beaches at Indian Point and Bar Road. Over the past 2 years, population assessment surveys of these areas have been completed, one each in the fall of 2020 and the fall of 2021. This is important work that we have needed in the past and will be a very important piece going forward. Our expectations now is that we continue to build on the progress we have made working with the Beskidoo Magady on clams, and that we're able to develop a management framework for the sustainable fishery of softshell clams in Southwest New Brunswick. This will be attained through continued collaboration with the Beskidoo Magady Nation at Schoodic and with stakeholders and other user groups within Southwest New Brunswick. As we move forward in the true spirit of reconciling, letting ourselves be guided by the principles agreed before us, respect, trust, and friendship, I believe that we can make the softshell clam fishery in Southwest New Brunswick sustainable for generations to come. Thank you for your time.
Edu chida hamug no sons.